Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I like to do reviews and reactions to the news, TV news, celeb news, politics, things like that. Before I start rambling, I want to address that yes, things have been really crazy in Bachelor Nation, anything related to Bachelor or Bachelorette the past weekend or so, if you've seen everything involving the Chris Harrison and Rachel Lindsay interview. But I feel like there's only about an episode or two left in the series, and I've already done this many reviews thus far, so I don't really know what I should do. I feel like I kind of just have to finish it out so that I started it already. Let me know if you guys are going to continue watching these reviews or the show in the comments, and I'm going to just jump into my review. I always have my notes to the side, so if you ever see me looking over, I'm just trying to go in chronological order. I also want to give a disclaimer: they did not discuss Chris Harrison's thoughts or Rachel's. They just kind of decided to sweep it under the rug. They did not do it on the episode, before, or on their official Instagram page, which is kind of actually shocking to me. But I mean, I guess this is what it is. So let's get into it. So at the very beginning of the episode, we were re-forced to watch Heather walk in. Heather is the girl who was previously on another season, apparently Colton, if I'm right. And she kind of just invited herself, I think an episode or two ago now, and said that she's heard great things from Hannah Brown and told her to compete. Who knows why she was about 6 weeks late, but that's what she chose to attempt to do. And Heather not only gave her pitch to the girls, but to Matt as well. And she was just telling him also like, yeah, Hannah told me great things about you, and I just didn't want to lose out on the opportunity. Girl, you should have just entered like everyone else and maybe you would have actually had a chance. I don't really know what it's like to try and come on another season again, but she didn't need to do this, especially when it seemed very strategic through producers and stuff. She didn't have a mask when she drove up. She just kind of miraculously showed up when things started to get a little bit boring and pulled up in a van that already had a camera in the car. So that was really confusing to me, unless they put that in while she was in the hotel. Who knows? The girls that are still in the show right now are just very much on edge. When they watched her walk in, everyone was like, oh my God, what's happening? Because ever since those new OG girls came in, Michelle and such, they've just been like, I just don't even think I stand a chance with him at all. So of course, another new girl coming in, and she's been on a previous season. I don't blame them for being kind of like about the situation at all. But in midst of all this, Piper is crying because she felt like she was kind of just kicked to the side, was walked over because she was talking to Matt before Heather walked in and essentially interrupted her rudely, or is that a right word? Rude, you know what I'm saying. So she felt really like, I guess, discouraged about all that's been crying. Piper has been crying for the past few episodes or so. It went from like me not really knowing who Piper was to her just crying a lot, which is very yikes and unfortunate to me. But then when Heather tried to introduce herself to the girls, it was just so terrible. They are just not really nice this season in regards to just any other girls that are there. I know that you're there for yourself and for your own love, I guess. But when anyone else is new or tries to introduce themselves, they're very standoffish and cold, it seems. Jasenia killed me when she said, you missed out on your season, so you tried with this one. And then Serena / Jasenia are just like, you're just Bachelor hopping at this point is what it seems like. And I'm not saying I agree or disagree, it's just like, it was a lot. I don't know how these girls handle all of this and don't break down and cry every scene. I'd be that person who would have crying memes like every episode because they were very harsh. I don't want to put it that way, but this is what it seems like. But yeah, Lord knows that girl was not ready to be scolded by everyone like that, like at all. But then hometowns are in a few weeks, which is kind of crazy because if their hometowns are right now, how's Heather just going to enter at this point of the process and somehow be ready to be a whole wife or like a fiance in 2 weeks? It's just not realistic. So there just wasn't much time for Heather to make an impression and be engaged, and for other girls to have their opportunity to build a relationship if a new girl came, if that makes sense. So Matt and Chris have a little debrief, and Matt saying how much he appreciates that Hannah took the time to not only talk to that girl, but tell her that like great things about Matt because he cherishes his friendship with Hannah and takes her word not lightly. Like he appreciates whatever she has to say and takes into consideration. Eventually Matt pulled Heather to the side and was like, this is just too far along in the process. There's just like no way to kind of just go forward given everything. He's like, maybe it was a different lifetime, maybe if the timing was different, it would have worked out well, but it's just like, it's too late and I owe these women my full undivided attention. I'm already falling in love with some of these people, so it's just too late for all of us. So it's just sorry, but he appreciated her coming out and flying and quarantining and everything. And if anything, this just gives this girl a little bit of publicity. I'm not saying like she's relevant or she's a celebrity or anything like that, but I didn't really know who she was, but if people didn't know, now her name's in their mouths and she can get a little bit of followers out of this, I guess. She was sent home before the rose ceremonies, and then Matt went and told the women like, hey, I just wanted to let you know, I know a lot of things have been happening. It's been a pretty crazy season, but I just wanted to apologize to all of you. But specifically, I want to apologize to Piper because your time was cut short. And hey, Piper, do you want to come along and we could talk some more? And I'm really glad that he did that because I feel like he's not been very time conscious of people, or the way that's the edit of him is going. So I'm glad that he was able to do that. Not only say sorry to her, but pull her to the side to give her the uninvited attention that he needed to give her to begin with during their little one-on-one session. We get to the rose ceremony and Matt sent home Chelsea and Serena C, one of the Serenas. There's two currently still there. And I feel bad because Chelsea is beautiful. As for Serena, she was snooty for like a minute. She was part of like the sassy, I don't want to say she was name calling. I don't remember exactly in my head, but I do know if there was things going on, she did chime in and argue a little bit. So I don't really have like a favorable memory of her. So I'm kind of just like, it is what it is. There are 8 girls now left in the house, and Chris shows up to tell the women that the hometown dates are around the corner and that there are 2 one-on-one dates plus a group date. So it's really, really down to the wire because there's some women who have not had one-on-one dates yet. Abigail and Jasenia are those 2. But then the date card comes. Serena P and Matt have a second one-on-one date. And Abigail's pretty shot down given everything because she's not had her one yet, like I said. Serena P, I remember her one-on-one date was like the horses, I think. So now this is just that opportunity to see if that connection has continued further. Their one-on-one date is a tantric yoga session to tap into their chakras and loosen up. When I say that these two were very disengaged in the sense of each other was very, very bad, Matt was like, ooh, it's a good date. I really enjoyed this because I guess he plans them or maybe he approves whether it's a good date or not. I'm not really sure how that process goes. But he's like, yeah, I think this is going to like allow us to open up to each other and like divulge a little bit more. Homegirl's on a whole nother page. She was like, I didn't like it. I didn't feel comfortable. This would not be my date. I would never do this again. But this is more to us. At first, I'm like, this is really awkward. Like, do you not feel him? Or is it the date? Or are you mad that he picked the date? Because she just was not content with the situation. And her face expression in the confessionals and with him later on just showed that she just was not feeling it. Again, maybe the date. I hope not him. Because I would hope that she'd be more transparent with him if she wasn't feeling him this late, you know, like the show is about to end. But then in Matt's confessional, he's like, I'm glad that we're friends, or we're friends now. I'm like, should you be saying that you're friends to someone that you're trying to fall in love with or essentially propose to in a few weeks? And I felt like he very much friend zoned her, but again, he is a bachelor, so it's kind of interesting that it was him who said that. Serena in her head was like, I'm waiting for this date to be over. There was signals that were really hard for me to decipher and like trying to gauge where they're gonna be, and I've been saying this for the past several reviews. I don't really see him having like a strong connection with someone. I'm like, oh, she's like gonna be the winner. She is the dead set, but like, I'm not really feeling that right now, and she definitely does not seem like that person anyways. But after the date, Serena is like, I'm gonna be open with you, Matt, and just be very honest. I didn't like the date. I didn't enjoy it. I would have never done that or picked that. I never want to do that again. Like, I'm just being honest with you. Matt is just like, I feel terrible. I just didn't know I planned a bad date like that. I would never want you to go through that if you didn't enjoy it. I feel so bad. Like, I'm so sorry. And it was just very awkward. Because again, good thing that she feels comfortable enough to be honest, not only to herself, but to him and to the audience, to everybody. She's not lying, because people might just lie to get to the end, but at least she's transparent to know that they can save both their hearts if he decides to remove her from the show or not. But in his little confessionals, he's saying that he loved that, and that made him, I guess, appreciate her more because she was honest. I'm like, okay, I guess we'll see where that goes. But her being honest means don't give her a rose, but he did give her a rose and continued to let her stay on. And I was like, and a lot of Twitter was confused too, because that kind of almost seemed like that was the point to let her leave. But you know, that's besides the point. This season is very confusing and interesting to me, all wrapped up in one. When we go back to the house, all the girls are on edge when they hear the door knock, and they learn the last one-on-one date is going to Jasenia. Abigail was very, very broken down because she has not gotten a one-on-one before the hometown date. So Jasenia at least has an opportunity. She doesn't. Like, it's kind of almost like this is down to the wire and there's probably not a possibility to continue, but we'll see what happens. She's kind of really down about the situation. Matt and Serena P continue their date by having dinner and discussing the first portion of their date. He gave her a rose despite the lack of chemistry there. That's why I was just kind of reiterating that I thought there was dead energy and that she's still here. So it was very shocking to me, but that's besides the point. The group date happens and Matt gives the rundown about the hometown dates. I know I've said it a billion times, but they kept emphasizing it, so I just wrote it down each time, that it's around the corner and that he's ready to have these tough conversations, because you need to have these tough conversations to be open and vulnerable and learn each other. Bree and Matt have a conversation. She tells him that a few days ago that she had to resign from her dream job in order to be there. I just feel like you kind of just know that you have to quit your job to be on these kind of shows. Maybe you can rejoin your career after, but it's just like you're gone for a few months. Sometimes you're gone for weeks. So it's really like inevitable that you have to kind of quit your job to do this. But I guess this is a real moment, because I guess they don't ever really address this on these TV shows. I mean, sis, if you want to be an influencer, I'm sure that's going to happen for you, especially now that she's this far in and she's kind of like a likable character. I don't think she's gonna have trouble having income or a job after this, but she kind of just expressed that to him. He's like, I'm glad that you were open with me about that. And then he talks to Abigail. Abigail, like I said, has been having a really difficult time throughout the entirety of this with her emotions, with him, knowing if he actually really likes her. She got the first impression rose, but since then it's kind of just gone downhill, if not been a flat plateau. And she's expressing that to him and saying like, yeah, I just don't really feel like we're getting there, but I really like you, but it's really hard for me to know if you feel the same way, things like that. Yeah, Matt sent her home. Abigail was a crowd favorite. People really liked her and thought that she was gonna last a little longer, and it was really sweet like the first episode. But he sent her home because there just wasn't anything there. It was like they started out on such a high for things to get to where it was, and her being sent home even before hometowns, which again, I said was probably gonna happen if they didn't get a one-on-one time and like hardly have spoken. But it's really unfortunate because I just feel like she was a really genuine girl, but if the connection's not there, it's not there. He said that he didn't see things going further with her after she poured her heart out to him, and like my heart hurts for her because I just didn't expect that at all. And by the looks at everyone else's faces, or at least a majority of them, they weren't expecting Abigail to be sent home in that manner at all either. Matt pulls Rachel to the side, and I am instantly turned off by everything. If, like I said in the beginning, she has these allegations that came up, not even allegations, it's true because there's photos with it, and she admitted that she had some racist remarks on her Instagram page, like in her little apology, if you might call it that. So anything related to her, I'm kind of like, okay, yeah, Rachel's on the screen, but I've heard rumors about what might happen in the ending finale, so it's kind of already irking me. But yeah, I just was over when she was talking. When he pulls Kit to the side, Kit said, I'm not willing to compromise anything in order to be with you. I want someone who would want to be my cheerleader, allow me to grow and travel. I don't want to have kids until I'm about 25 to 26, so I'm a long-term investment. Yeah, she's 21, and you typically get engaged at the end of this, so would you say no to the engagement but still be together? Or would you just want like a 4-year-long engagement? But you know that that's kind of what happens at the end of the show. She's also like the youngest person to compete on here, but I'm glad that she was independent and grown and giving like everything out there, but rather than like telling him later on after he's invested all his energy into her. But it was shocking, like she said all that despite again knowing how The Bachelor goes and everything. But he didn't seem turned off or deterred by anything she had to say, and was kind of just almost like I don't want to say turned on, but he was like attracted to her being driven and like ambitious. At the end of it, Matt gave his group date rose to Rachel, and everyone was really, really broken down. Again, like, I guess maybe because it's closer to the end, things are just that more real. So when he gave it to her and they went out to go dance to that musician who was out in the back, they were just all sitting on the couch, like down and broken, like the 3 or 4 girls that were there. It just was like really, really like yikes. Like, I don't know if it's just because it's that much closer that their feelings are more invested, or they're just really sad, because typically I feel like they brush it off and you move on, but they're like, I'm really, really upset that I did not get that rose. The emotions of all of it was definitely shown the most on Kit. Kit went to Matt's house after and was like, you know what? She doesn't have the clarity that she needed to continue to go on and move forward to the hometown dates. And she basically was just like, if he were to propose to me tomorrow, I don't think I'd say yes. And like, he needs someone who has that comfort. Like, he deserves to have someone who's like sure about him. And she ejected herself. She removed herself from the show. And I was like, we have Abigail, Kit, who else is to leave? Because again, we're very much at the end, but that was really shocking because it wasn't again on his terms. Kit just removed herself, and I feel like she kind of had a chance to stay longer. On Yesenia and Matt's one-on-one date, I know I kind of jumped for it, but this is literally like a summation of the episode. Matt and Yesenia had their one-on-one date, and it's them drifting/driving in fast race cars and eventually sitting down at dinner to discuss how hometowns would be for them. Yesenia tells Matt that she's falling in love with him, and Matt said the relationship wasn't there yet. It's really wild to me that you can be on such different pages. I don't know if it's because like he's the Bachelor and he's dating all these women and they're all just dating him. So like they could have their own perspective on like the speed of their like relationship. But how are you falling in love with a whole man who's acting like this? And then like he's just like not there. I'm not really rating on anyone's parade or anyone's like specifically, but that's wild to be on such different places. But that's just where it is. And he sent her home and walked her out. I feel like I want to compare her to Katie because Katie focused so much on like the women empowerment and protecting people who are being bullied, because that's really important, especially on TV shows. But I feel like Yesenia did the same thing, and they were so forward on like helping them out, which is good, that their relationships were put on the back burner and they didn't really have their chance to really grow with Matt or learn him or have a romantic relationship. So I just feel really bad because I feel like that's what kind of jeopardized their chances with him. Yesenia said she felt blindsided And I can only imagine how that felt. One thing is to like, I know I'm gonna go home, but it feels like they never know that. But to like not know it and then it happens, it's just like a whole nother situation. So it's Abigail, Jasenia, and who else am I forgetting? Kit, who've already left, and we haven't gone to the rose ceremony. We get to the ceremony, and Matt gave the final roses to Bree and Michelle. He sent home Piper, which came as a surprise to me, but I do really like Bree and Michelle. Piper didn't look like she hugged him. Like, he walked her out, but she just got in the car and dipped. Like, again, it's really hard to like really be loving and like happy when you get ejected or removed from a show. So wow, that was a mouthful. Again, this is not like, oh my God, surprising. It's more just like, wow, like we were really at this point. And again, Bachelor has not addressed anything, which is really disappointing, but very interesting. Let me know again what y'all think of my review, the season, the Chris Harrison situation, all of that. Check out my videos on that, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.